I am Lonegeveity with bringingdowntheband.com and the New Old Heads podcast, music producer, creative connoisseur, and all those things. Tonight we're talking with the one and only Mandog from Indianapolis, hailing from Indianapolis, Indiana. He is a music producer. He is a artist. You do a little bit of mixing and mastering and stuff as well. You know, you're a former retired rapper, I think, as well, and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to you tonight and catching up, and also, you know, telling the world about you and kind of how you got into music and how you got to where you are today. So, welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Well, first things first, let's talk about, let's just kind of go back a little bit, you know, like growing up as a kid and everything. When was the time where you kind of got introduced to music as a little person? What's one of your earliest memories?
Honestly, like it was a very musical house growing up. So my dad was a pastor, and my mom, when I was like really little, I don't remember if she was the pianist, but when I was like 5 or so, the church that we were going to, she was the pianist, and my dad played the guitar. So they were always practicing and stuff, and they always had like my dad had a like really nice stereo down in the living room that he would like crank up, and we would like jam and dance and stuff. So yeah, like my mom started, well, really it was like, they started a church down in my school's basement, and the church got this keyboard. It was a legitimate synthesizer. I actually still have it, but it was like this Alesis keyboard and this like Roland amp. Just like throughout the week, I would mess around on it and just like have I would literally just like put the demo on, which was like maybe like 10 or 15 minutes, and it just like went through a bunch of cool things and
like presets type thing.
It was like just like but it played itself type thing. So it went through all the presets and like showed you what it could do. So I would just like sit there with the demo on and kind of imitate and try to like act like I was playing along. So, and that I was doing that when I was like 5, and we always had like a regular piano too. So since I was super little, but I would say that Alesis keyboard for sure, because it had like drum kits and stuff on it, and so it was like, yeah, really fun to explore as a little kid.
How old were you?
When we got that keyboard, it was probably, I was like 5 or 6, but we had a piano, like just a regular piano, and my mom was always playing the piano. So
yeah. Did you end up learning how to play the piano?
We tried to do piano lessons for me, or my mom tried to have me go to piano lessons, but I was like always so shy that I didn't want to like go sit with some stranger and have them tell me how to play the piano. So my mom tried to teach me a little bit, and I ended up picking up some, but it just ended up being something I kind of taught myself through producing more so later on.
Right.
But always kind of been a picker at it.
What do you mean by that? Like just kind of
like just pick around and like come up with melodies and make stuff up and kind of be able to play stuff. But I've never read music or anything.
Gotcha. Yeah. I always say that I can get around, you know what I mean? Like I have the ear for it, but I know too many like good piano players to say that I play piano.
Yeah, same.
You know
and like I've taken music theory and stuff in college, and I still like can't read music, and so yeah, I don't play.
It's not
what I say,
and it's not really overly necessary, you know.
Exactly, because I'm not ever I don't plan on trying to play live or anything. It's just like, can I get it on the 10th try while I'm making this beat? That's okay, cool.
You need
that mess up note, you know, move it over.
Never going to be out there writing. Well, who knows? Maybe one day, man. Maybe you'll be writing some symphonies or something.
I mean, yeah, you know, like, well, I like you were saying, scoring something is definitely on my like bucket list, and I just recently got a Moog synthesizer,
nice,
and the sounds that you can make on that, it's just crazy.
Which one did you get?
What'd you say? That Matriarch.
Matriarch.
It's a beast. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's on my short list of like. I've just been using the Push 2 recently, and I just actually came across a picture of when we were doing the build one time, and you brought one of your, I think it was a Korg out or something that I was like playing
the
on.
mini log or monologue, mini log, yeah.
But I haven't had a keyboard since one of our builds, and I remember I was talking to Diop, and I forgot my power cord, so he had one, and I just tried it.
Oh, and you fried it?
And I fried it? Yeah. In like 6 seconds, it was like smoke. I was like, oh, shit, it's a wrap. Yeah. So I'm in the market to, I want to get something, though, that has more than 25 keys. Like, I have a full 88 key, like, old Casio that works, but it's kind of janky. Sometimes it powers on, sometimes it doesn't. So I kind of want to get something that's not like a 2002 used keyboard that works all the time. So, but the church thing, I don't think I've ever known that or I ever retained that information. So what was that like? What was the
kids used to call me church boy at school?
That's not a normal story. My dad started a church in the the basement of a school or something. So
so that started when I was like in a maybe kindergarten or first grade, and it was like in the cafeteria, then it went to the gym. But I don't know, I guess it wasn't like super weird for me just because it was like all I knew.
Right.
But I don't know. It was kind of a conservative household, not like conservative in the like political way, but just like lifestyle way. My parents definitely are like way more liberal now. I think maybe just sending us to IPS and having us grow up like did that to them. But yeah, I mean, really all the music I grew up on was like Christian music. That's how I got into hip hop, was listening to like different Christian rappers, like really DC Talk, like Toby Mac, Carmen, like when I was real little. Carmen, I don't know if anyone knows who that is, but
I don't.
That was my first concert ever. It was at Market Square Arena, and it was like that was like top of the line, like Christian, like he's like this like Italian. I forget where he's from, like in the US, but he's like this Italian dude, like slick back hair, and he would like rap and sing. He was like very corny nowadays looking back, but he was amazing to me.
Give the people at home that are watching like just a relevant, not, you don't have to give them any bars or anything, but I'm just saying like, so are you in your 30s yet?
Yep, just hit 30 last October.
Okay, so you are a
1990.
1990s, yeah. So you're real close there. All right, cool. So. I remember DC Talk, but I wasn't much into Christian really music at all. So I didn't really know any. And I didn't really know anybody that listened to it either. So
yeah, that's the thing. When I went to school, like there was no connecting on music for me with people. Like it kind of made me feel like I had to hide that in a way to be cool, But as I got like older, towards middle school, my parents started letting me listen to more stuff, and I would listen to the radio and stuff. But like the music, like the CDs I would like be allowed to buy and stuff, were still like mostly Christian and stuff.
Yeah.
But like when I was in middle school, I was listening to some like more like underground Christian rappers who were doing songs with like kind of other underground rappers who were like not Christian music. So that's kind of how I started getting introduced to like some, like this rapper T-Bone I listened to. He did a song, Mac 10, KRS-One, Pigeon John. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Oh wow, Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was your?
He came from this Christian rap group.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Yeah, LA Symphony.
Okay, so I know the name Pigeon John. I don't know if I know any music though.
He used to be one of my favorites.
LA Symphony. That sounds really familiar.
There was like 12 of those dudes in that rap group.
So at that point in time, you kind of, did you ever like stop listening to Christian rap? Was there ever like, or was it just kind of naturally going, or did you just kind of grow out of it, or what?
Well, I mean, honestly, I'd quit being a Christian at a point. Like it.
Well, that'll do it, I guess.
Yeah. Like on paper, I quit being a Christian probably at some point in high school, but it was a little bit before that. I kind of just fell out of the whole thing of it. I mean, honestly, some of the music it was like good. But yeah, I just, once LimeWire hit, it was a wrap.
Oh yeah. Yeah. then you're exposed to like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never jumped into it. When I was in high school, I remember, and I've told this story many times, it was like I heard like Black Stars. I saw their video with Common for Respiration. Mm-hmm. Like on the same day I saw Inspected Deck's Word on the Street, and I was like, yo, what is this? And then that was it. I just never looked back at that point in time.
Yeah, I feel like for me, like the first like secular thing that caught my ear was Slim Shady. Like that beat, like Unreal Slim Shady. I can remember, like, just that blew my mind. And whenever I would hear it on the radio, I remember I felt like amazing when I finally snagged it on the little mixtape that I would like record songs off the radio from.
Oh yeah.
I was doing things like that too, like back in like third grade and stuff, making radio mixtapes. So I guess I got into secular music before that.
Yeah.
Chingy and all
that. But what a range to go from you know, Christian music to Slim Shady, but
for sure.
So at what point in time did you tinker around with like making music, and what did that look like for you? Because you were in high school when you started, weren't you? Or were you after, or was it post high school?
Yeah, pretty much high school. In 8th grade, in my music class, we had these big, like, they call them cows, computer on wheels, just like carts full of MacBooks, and they all had GarageBand on them. And there was like a little period of time where we all had to make a song on GarageBand. And I did that. And then my buddy, he had an older brother who he was in high school probably when we were in middle school, maybe even out of high school, but he was like making like movies and stuff and had Acid maybe like 2 or 3. And when I would go over to his house, we would like just like mess around and like record our voices and do crazy stuff. But so like that was I remember falling in love with Acid going over to his house. And so I asked for, I forget which one they were on, maybe 5, Acid 5. I got that for Christmas.
Nice.
My freshman year of high school.
Gotcha. Then, I got 3 was my first one. And so
I got the music studio first, and then I was like, I need the Pro. And then,
I think I had the music one too, to be honest. I think it was Acid Music is the one that I had.
It was cheaper.
And that was back when it was Sonic Foundry before it was Sony too, right? Because I think they
that's
to
the
like 7.
The version I got was Sony, but the version my buddy's brother had was Sonic Foundry.
Oh, okay. Very good. Yeah, that's how I got started, was Acid Music. Acid Music.
It was magical.
It was. It's crazy. A lot of the producers, I feel like there's just like a sect of producers that used it. Like obviously Major 7's in the chat right now. Shouts to 𝐸 in there too. But Major 7,
𝐸 still uses it.
for real. Hey, bro, we got to get you right,
I'm
man.
trying to get him on Ableton. I'm trying.
Got to get you right, man. Come see me, man. But like May 7th, you know, I was actually with him when I bought Acid Music, but then you use it. I talked to Maythe a couple months ago. He was using Acid. Tall black guy using Acid. Like, I feel like there's a whole, it's crazy. Like, you don't hear like a lot of people say that they use Acid, that they used Acid Music.
Clarence Casino.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that. But then it's like a lot of personal conversations that I've had, that I've talked with people. They were like, yeah, I used that for a long while. I was like,
I mean, it was good. Like, you know,
it is. And the beat mapper. It's very solid. Yep. You know what's crazy? I never used
a sampler, like, especially.
Never used it.
You never used the beat mapper?
Nope. I always turned the one-shot mode on, and I chopped and sped up samples like that way. I didn't use any type of warping or beat mapping until I started using Ableton.
It's like the old school way.
I didn't even know any different. It was just like, but once I used Ableton, I was like, oh, this is like Acid on steroids. And it's like, there's no way. Like, I think I made the full switch in like 3-4 months. And that's like with projects, in like working on projects.
Yeah.
Like I was in the process of them. So it was like some overlap, but
yeah.
But Decap uses Ableton. Yeah. 𝗏𝗏.
I've been watching a lot of his videos.
He's got a lot of really great insight, you know, especially for like producers that already produce, because he goes pretty deep with it. He had this really cool, not to get too sidebar, but I know there's a lot of producers in the chat right now. But he mentioned something I saw in a video the other day, and I don't know why I never thought about doing it, but he would keep his kick outside. He would create a group, and he would put all his music, all of the instruments and everything in the group, except for his kick. And he would put his kick, what's up, TR? He would put his kick outside of the group, and he would sidechain everything to the kick. Now, I've done stuff like that, but I'd never thought about putting it in a group. You know, like
I've never done that.
So, but
yeah, that's a sound I like for sure.
Yeah. All right. So 8th grade to 9th grade, which is mad young to start into kind of start messing around. I don't think I even like started messing around with stuff like this until I was, you know, right after I graduated. But I wasn't banned and stuff like that. So I guess maybe that counts for something.
When I got to Broad Ripple, like high school, that like hip hop, that was all through there, you know, like the lunchrooms. That's where I met Tony Sticks.
Okay.
Because every single lunch period there'd be beatboxers and rappers in a cypher just like mobbed up, not eating lunch. I would watch those rap circles and started trying to learn how to beatbox along with my buddy 𝗏𝗏. That's when we formed our production duo. Geometry was freshman year in high school, because that's where we met in geometry class.
That's funny.
Yeah. And started just like beatboxing and doing that stuff, and eventually kind of the first music I recorded was just, you know, some silly stuff with some friends and stuff. But my buddy Juan Blanco, who I've known for a while, since elementary school, there was this Project XL. It was this art competition by Farm Bureau Insurance, and they would give you a theme. It was for the whole state of Indiana high schoolers, and they would give you a theme, and you could do 2D art or make music or make a video or 3D art, several categories. And top prize was like $3,000 cash. And like, so we teamed up with my buddy Juan Blanco, me and 𝗏𝗏, because he wrote poetry and was kind of dabbling in rap. And so we teamed up with him and just like recorded some songs. And that's kind of how the Milky Way Vandals were formed. We started with the name the Symphonics, and then at some point switched the name. But so that was like, freshman year, I was in my first group, geometry. And then a couple of years after that was when we started doing the Milky Way Vandals thing with Juan Blanco. Finally put something out once we had graduated, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember the Milky Way Vandals.
But yeah, actually we were putting stuff out before that, and that's when I was like rapping too. It was like geometry wasn't just a production duo. We were
right.
rapping.
Doing the thing. Yeah. Getting it. When did you, because I don't want to, obviously I'm a music producer, so I focus on that stuff, but I don't want to get too focused on that because, I mean, you're an artist in with the pen as well, and in the, well, with the hand, I guess is what I will say, not necessarily with a pen. But when did you start getting into drawing and art in that aspect? How was that path for you in the creative realm versus like your music path? When did you start all that stuff?
I would say a similar time, like real young, about kindergarten. I can like specifically remember my art teacher, Mr. Utley. I had him from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. So he was like an amazing teacher, and definitely lucky to have him and the same teacher for your whole childhood almost. So I forget if it was like 1 or 2 hours a week art class in elementary, but I just always liked drawing and doing all that stuff. And then went to the visual arts magnet at Broad Ripple High School. So I had like 2 hours of art a day there. And then I graduated and I kind of fell out of making art for a little bit. And I went to Butler with I didn't know my minor I was just doing the major of recording industry studies. And one of my like social studies class, we had to make an art piece, or it was like an option to make an art piece for some project or something. And the teacher was like, "Hey, are you in the art program here?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "You should go talk to the art teacher." And so I did. And then she talked me into minoring in art. So I minored in art and design at Butler. So kind of explored my artistic voice there a little more. And just kind of been doing, I love painting and drawing so much. It's just something I'm always going to do. So.
Right. Yeah. I remember even for like a video that we shot years ago, Diop actually shot it for a song we had called Painted on the last Hinks Jones project. It was like 2014 or 15. It's crazy. It's been so long, but, I remember like dropping by your spot where you were living on the north side, and you let us borrow a canvas to use for the, and then Claire's is out there pretending to be able to draw and stuff. It was pretty cool.
I vaguely remember that actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. What would you design? What would you see? I'm ignorant when it comes to like art and any type of understanding of the theories and history on art and design and stuff like that. I just kind of like look at stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, or no, I don't like that. What would you like describe like your style of art that you make?
Non-objective a lot of the time. I used to describe it as abstract, and then I like took enough classes to where I like a lot of it's not even abstract, because like abstract, you still kind of have a subject that you're portraying, but you've abstracted it in some way. So a lot of the times I don't have a subject, and it's just more of like a visual aesthetic that I'm going for. But like abstract expressionism would maybe fit it sometimes, because sometimes I'll do that. But non-objective I just do so much. Like, I would say I'm a 2D artist. I'm not like a drawer or painter or anything like that. I kind of mix media. I'll kind of use whatever.
But talk about your color book a little bit while I pull this up.
Yeah, so
reading book, excuse me.
About 2017 or 18, the adult coloring books like really started popping off, and like that kind of detailed line work style was always something I had kind of been doing, and so I was like, might as well hop on this train and try and make some money off of this, because like the Amazon bestseller list, or maybe the New York Times bestseller list that year, like out of 10 books, like 4 or 6 or something like that were all adult coloring books. So yeah, I was like, wow, there's definitely a market for this. So did a Kickstarter and raised like $2,000, and
wow,
yeah, drew up like 36 pages and got it printed locally. And yeah, I was really happy with that. It was a cool experience.
I remember when you were like in the process of putting that out. Yeah, here's some of the art that you sent me here that you guys can kind of get a view. There's a meme. It's like, name one thing in this picture. And you look at it and you can't name anything in the picture.
Like in this one you got up, like there's a few things that are actually there. Like there's some like hot chili peppers.
See it.
There's like a stoplight.
Seems it's very street.
I did this one
building
it was the Fountain Square Art in a Day competition.
Definitely unique. I am no art critic or any. That's pretty dope right there.
One's upside down. Or no, it's not. Yeah, it is. I don't know. I flip my paintings while I'm working on them too. So
yeah, art is something that I've always been really interested in, but I've always been really shit at. Like from a young age. Like I just never had the ability. My brother was always really dope at it. And I just kind of had the musical side of it. The Nipsey piece. Yeah, so there's a little bit of an example for those following along at home.
I've definitely put more work into trying to brand myself on the music side of things. Recently, I've been kind of trying to plot how to merge the two a little bit more. Yeah, but really, I've always been trying to plot that, but it's, at least in the local scene, the art world and the music world haven't ever really been connected too much. So yeah, the music world, the music scene here in Indy was definitely a little more accessible, or at least I tried a little more. I don't know.
I feel like in the last handful of years, at least pre-COVID, it seemed like they were starting to merge a little bit or get a little bit closer. You know, but it might just be because I was just around more artists too. You know what I mean? But, yeah. I mean, I think there's a way to do it. I mean, a lot of it could just be around merchandise related to your musical projects. You know.
Honestly, at this point in my life, it's really just like time management and executive function management, all that jazz.
Yeah.
The thing I learned with that coloring book was like, it's not just drawing 36 pages. Like that was the fun part. And then it was like, oh crap, I gotta do a bunch of like businessy stuff, which like,
that's it, period though. I mean, like everything. I mean, it's what I tell people is like, students that I have, it's like, all right, cool. You finished your music. All right. You have 20% of what you need to have done.
And I definitely struggle with that with the music as well. Like, it's definitely not what I am geared towards doing, but we all gotta do it at this point.
What was a moment, I guess, in your music career where you started taking it maybe a little bit more serious than you had previously? Was there a moment?
So this was like back in the MySpace days, kind of too, the days that was ending. But I remember before I turned 21, I kind of had a sense of who was who in the local scene just through MySpace and kind of following things through there. I was always a big Mud Kids fan, and I had seen Mike Soul and Ace One. They opened up, or they played a song with the Mud Kids at a Modest Yahoo concert. And I like found out who they were and just like, started connecting dots and stuff. So kind of started getting plugged before I turned 21 because I ended up being in that Jay Brookins beat battle. I think it was the third one. It was at the Casbah. But I couldn't be there.
Was that the one you couldn't come downstairs for or something?
Yeah, I wasn't even there. I was just at home. So my birthday is October 17th, and the battle was on the night of the 16th. It was like I was 21 at midnight, and the Casbah wouldn't even let me in.
Oh, man.
But so my girlfriend at the time went and repped me, and I think I went up against Dylan Prevails.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was probably my favorite one.
But the next year I was there for it, and that was also at the Casbah. But yeah, like I was meeting people like at the back of the Vogue, when like concerts would roll through. Like I remember I met Fee-Ray at like might have been Method Man and Redman show.
I was there. Yeah, I remember that.
Met him, met like Jason Bain.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like definitely trying to like make my way into what I could see going on. But like, I guess I kind of felt things kicking into gear working with like Pope. I guess we played a show with Juan Blanco too, but really when we started getting reached out to for playing shows and just getting in front of people and finding out that people really, rocked with us and wanted us to play shows.
Was there a person that kind of maybe in the local scene that I don't want to say like championed you, but kind of like put you on and like introduced you?
I would say Mike Soul and Ace One. Mike Soul specifically, he was one guy that like responded to me on MySpace, and I ended up sending him some beats, and they put me on their album, The Light, something about Plan 9. So yeah, that was like my first placement, and I just felt like $1 million. And Mike Soul's that dude. Ace One's that dude.
Yeah, good people. Yeah, I ran into Ace last October. I mean, obviously he's in cut camp with me and stuff, but with everything, like this is the first time I think I've only seen him like twice in the last 2 years. And
it's been a minute.
But it was like it felt good to see him, and I saw Mike actually right before COVID at a hip hop night. He came out.
Mike at the grocery store one time recently.
Nice.
Or before COVID, I think. But.
Yeah. So, but I haven't seen him since. Like I feel like because I moved here to Indy right around the time when you were getting started. Because I moved here in late 2008 and all 2009. I was like going to everything and just meeting people, and building those relationships. But Mike Soul Mike and Ace were doing lots of big things, like you said, a lot of those moments you mentioned, like I remember those. Like I remember being at the Red Meth show, like back when I used to take my camcorder and like film shows and local shows and put that stuff up early, bringing down the band days. But yeah, Mike is somebody who for a stint here was definitely a part of Indianapolis hip hop history. So I have to see you bring his. I do remember the song that you guys. Maybe it was after that too.
I got a couple things with them. Yeah,
because I remember sharing
a single that was pretty fire.
Yeah. I remember that.
I can remember the name of it right now.
How'd you start working with Pope Adrian Bless? Because I think that it's definitely Milky Way Vandals, but I would probably agree.
was like this name that I came up with that like I wanted to be kind of this like collective type deal. Gotcha. That like I had a few people like be like, yeah, and then a few people that were like, yeah, that's kind of what we're doing, you know. So like it was like just always this loose, like no one ever really knew quite what it was because like we would just release different things from that SoundCloud and stuff. But yeah, Pope was like technically part of Milky Way Vandals, but we met in high school, freshman year, art class.
Okay.
And so he was part of those lunchroom ciphers and stuff.
Got you. So I didn't know he was a broad rippler too.
Yeah, he would come home with me after school and we would record. Like he was honestly one of the first rappers that I worked with where I was just like, what's going on here? Like this dude is like, cause he would just come over and just freestyle. He would not write anything. Yeah. So I was recording him just over beats I was making in Acid. And it was like, I was making some pretty cool beats at this point. This might've been like junior or senior year. So I was already like, 2 or 3 years in. So making some like at least like decent sounding stuff. And then Pope's just coming in and just like slaughtering everything. And I'm like, this dude sounds like Jay-Z. Like, this is amazing.
Early Jay.
And yeah, I've known Pope since I was like 15, 16.
Got you. All right. But kind of describe your sound. Like, who are some of your big influences on like the styles of music that you make? And I'm sure it's kind of changed throughout the years a little bit, but you've always been unique because as much as, you seem like you do have like you seem versatile in the sense that from the outside looking in, and obviously I know this from working with you some and knowing your stuff, but you have some stuff that maybe you'll sample and some stuff that's just straight original, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where do you draw a lot of your influence from, do you think?
A lot of different places, like some of that old Christian rap music, I was listening to in high school, from producers like Dr. Dre, J Dilla, Lil Jon, Timbaland, Pharrell, Madlib, I like so much stuff that it's just kind of all been like a melting pot in a way in my brain. Cause I went through several phases for sure where I would try and emulate, like say MF Doom and or try and make a beat sound like J Dilla. So I've ended up like kind of learning a bunch of different techniques and stuff. But yeah, I just draw so many different influences from different places. And I've been lucky enough to like travel to different countries, and I feel like just grabbing sounds, different places. I don't know, just sounds in general inspire me just in different ways. So once I've learned how to sample in Acid, it was like I just started hearing things differently, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it kind of ruined music in a way for me.
Me as well. Yep.
Yeah. Like not ruined it, but ruined the magic of music. Like I remember I used to listen to music before I was a producer, and I would just like get all these like different feelings and stuff. And now when I listen to music, I'm like, let me pick this apart. And yeah.
It's the same. I have the same conversation. I've had that conversation a million times with people, especially with a lot of students. Like in the class that I teach, in our novice class, we talk about the basics of Ableton and stuff. But then there's like 2 classes over basic music, like Western music theory. So one's like over like BPMs and counting time and all that stuff. And then the next class is about major and minor chords. Mm-hmm. But the specifically the BPM ones, where we are, finding the beat, finding the pulse, finding the one, like figuring out like if a song's in like 4/4 or something else. That's a moment for a lot of students where they start listening to music differently. Because now when they listen to music, they're not just listening to enjoy. They're listening for the one. They're listening for the pulse of everything. They're listening for the loops, you know, and all this other stuff and how stuff circulates. And it becomes
it's
cyclical.
honestly even made just like watching TV different, you know, like. But
same for me. It's at this point I'm just used to it, you know, and but I can definitely feel that sentiment because
and so I will say with that, like I can definitely still kind of tap into that feeling when I'm listening to stuff where it's maybe like more inaccessible for me, like jazz or like just, you know, where people are playing instruments that I don't know how to play. I can still kind of tap into that like magical feeling of But if I'm listening to hip hop, I'm definitely critiquing it and analyzing it and comparing and all that.
Yeah, I get that when I listen to Radiohead. I'm a big Radiohead fan, and Thom Yorke, even though I like to sing a little bit and all that stuff, like Thom Yorke is just so good at it. And Radiohead is just so good at what they do. Like that's what's in my car right now. Like people would probably think I listen to hip hop all the time, but I've got In Rainbows in my car. You know, that's what I listen to when I drive forth and back to the school because, to your point, it's a little bit more like I just appreciate it. You know, so.
And it kind of lets you like reset. I feel like from what you're making.
The technical aspect of everything. Yeah. Quiet. Did you ever win a Jay Brookins beat battle?
Yep.
Which one did you win?
I won the one at the Vogue. I beat you in the first round.
Oh yeah. Okay. I remember that.
That was the 6th one, I think. So I won number 6.
I think that was the last one that I did. Because right after that is when he started the league, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it was year 7 he did the league, but I won a couple rounds of the like when it was a league, but I won like one like when it was just a single boy.
Gotcha. Yeah, the league sounds like it would have been. I mean, obviously I was around everybody. We sponsored, you know, and I worked with Brookins on some.
Yeah, you were a judge.
Publicity.
A few ones, right?
I don't know if I actually judged anything though. I don't think maybe I did. I don't think I was. I don't know. Maybe I was. I honestly don't remember, but I was at every single one of them. I do remember that much. It seemed like a lot of work, man. I think that's where I was with it because how often were the battles? Was it monthly or was it?
Yeah, monthly.
Imagine
over the winter we had like a 3-month break, but because I was going deep that first round, I went to the final round, used all my beats, you know, so then turn around and and that's like 12 beats or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, got to turn around and make a bunch more. I honestly still can kind of feel that, like when I produce like the remnants of the battles, like I'll still like sit down and make a beat and like I don't know where this beat would go besides a beat battle. Like just I got into a certain place of just trying to make the hardest beat possible.
It's great because
change it up after every 4 bars.
It's so funny because there's no other real application for it except for a battle for those beats.
Yeah, like I made records out of maybe like 3 of those like 50 beat battle beats I made. But
that's crazy.
I think they could be good for like background music for like commercials or.
That's what I was gonna. I was gonna say that too. I mean, and plus you can always like, you know, you can reformat them a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely. And I've done that with a few, and
yeah. I used to talk in the early battle days, with Blake a lot, and because Blake won one, he beat me actually in the finals, one of those 𝐂𝐫𝐲. But I was in the top 4 like I don't know, 4 of the years or something. I don't know. or maybe more. I don't even remember at this point.
Blake used to sweep those.
But Blake got the like the pattern down, you know, like it needs to change at this point in time. It needs to do this, you know, and 𝗲𝗲 was really good at it as well.
𝗲𝗲's intros, really.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah. I had some good battles against 𝗲𝗲 and Soul Cinematic and all those dudes, but it's crazy that was so long ago.
I would like to see beat battles come back, honestly. I think it was good for the scene.
I think
is Jay Brookins in here?
I don't know if he's in here, but he's probably getting anxiety just hearing us talk about it. But it's I liked him too. I thought that and I really like the idea of a league, but I think it maybe just needs to stretch out a little bit more or something.
Yeah.
Because I'm somebody that makes a lot of tracks.
It was taxing.
Yeah, and I'll make a lot of tracks, but not every track's going to be a beat battle beat, you know? And like, it's weird. It's kind of hard to put yourself in a position to be like, I got to make the hardest beat ever, you know? And like over and over and over again. It's like, all right, cool. That was cool. Now let's make 9 more of the same thing. It's like,
I was just going to say, that's maybe one reason why I've maybe stayed kind of versatile, is because I don't like to do the same thing over and over, or like sit down and make something for something. Like if I'm sitting down to produce, like I kind of just like the whole thing is like a flow state without a, you know, once like it kind of even gets itself mixed while I'm making it. Like I gotta sit down in a whole different session if I'm gonna like start analyzing like arrangement or anything like that at this point.
Yeah, I think it's I pretty much, I mean, this has changed throughout time, but I've started, or I pretty much get into you have to separate the brains, man. Like I'm a very analytical person. I do a lot of business related things, a lot of stuff in that world, right? And when I create, I'm very intentional about not thinking. So I just want it to kind of freely flow out. And so I have to be in a specific state. And probably for the last 5 or 6 years, to be frank with you, I never work if I don't feel like it. I just don't do it.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
I don't force anything.
It's hard to force that.
Otherwise, it feels forced. And I think it also comes from knowing what that feeling of forcing it from battles perspectives or finishing an album, like I need like 2 more records, like let me sit here and like force and make this, and I just don't have it in me anymore to like force a record, which I think is a good thing, you know. So
at the same time, I will say there is some value there in like learning how to, you know, do something for something, or you know.
Absolutely
like I wouldn't like trade doing that. I definitely learned a lot and gained a lot of valuable stuff.
It's kind of to your point earlier when you said you used to kind of mimic and take producers and try to make stuff like them. Like it's part of the learning process. Like I tell the people that, like, you know, that I teach.
It's like,
yeah, for sure. Like it's like there needs to be a time where you can go through and go make a Reza beat, go make a Dilla beat, a Pete Rock beat, a Timbaland beat. Do that. Try to make it like in my class. I literally have them find a song in the intermediate way down the line. I was like, pick a song that you like, and I want you to try to remake it from scratch.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, it's a great learning, whatever you want to call it,
technique.
And so it's the same way, same with that. I do feel like working under pressure, being able to, you know, like if I come to you and I say, hey man, I got this cool opportunity. You think you can make this really dope beat where the influence is a Yankee Candle and Clean Cotton, and it makes you think of like dogs playing in the winter. Can you make that? Right? And if now that's most random shit ever, right? But at the same time, like
I got you.
It's like, all right, cool. Let me sit down and focus. If you've never done that before, you're going to be like, okay, you know. How did you meet 𝗲𝗲 and how did you guys start working together?
Met 𝗲𝗲. Actually, the first Milky Way Vandal show was at a little spot called Midtown on like 38th and Central.
Yeah.
And like Sirius Black was playing that night. It was the Good Life show. So like me and Juan Blanco, Pope, we actually played a song with Greg Granite that night. Great. Yeah. Shout out to Greg Granite, man. He was another one that connected with me early and showed a bunch of love.
Yeah. I love Gray. He's great people.
So yeah, it was that night at Midtown. I connected with Diop. I kind of knew who he was because he had went to Broad Ripple, but he was a senior when I was a freshman. So we didn't really cross paths that much.
Right.
Or at all, really. But I knew his cousin, Easy. And him and my sister had some like classes together at IUPUI. And she had told him that I was a producer because she knew he was a rapper. And she's like, oh, you guys should connect. So he kind of knew who I was. I kind of knew who he was. So he gave me his mixtape that night. And I listened to it. We exchanged info. And honestly, from that first session, we just like vibed so well. Like we just, started building a relationship from there and haven't looked back. But yeah, we just kind of started out working on a bunch of different songs that never saw the light of day. So that was around 2013. I don't know. All those years are starting to get blurry now, but
yeah. I can relate.
It was also around the time where we were in a band together around that time. Or like we had like 5 sessions or so together.
Was that the Domingos?
Yep. Diop knew, well, actually I kind of knew Ted too through MySpace. Ted Somerville.
That's Ted.
And yeah, we got like kind of recruited into this like jam session that we had every Sunday that kind of just turned into a band. So that's where I met Grits. That's where I met like Tierras and Ted.
Yeah.
That like, and we really just, I don't know. And that actually that's where I met Kyle Long. Was the first. We only played 2 shows as a band. It was like one of those up and up shows at the Athenaeum.
I don't even know what that is.
That German like theater by the Rathskeller is like connected to the Rathskeller.
Okay, yeah.
But that's actually the first event I DJ'd too. But me and DJ Kyle Long DJ that event, and we played a set as the Domingos. But yeah, me and Diop, we've been working on stuff for a whole long time.
Yeah. I mean, you see, you were working with Pope a lot, and then you ended up working a lot with Diop. I'm guessing that the relationship between you and Diop was just really tight.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of just worked with so many people, and just musical, like Diop has always been like kind of adventurous with beat selection. Not that like other people aren't, but like that's kind of who I'm usually able to work with, is like the people who are kind of where I'm at.
Right.
Because kind of like what we were saying, it's like hard for me to like make this type of beat, or so if I don't kind of have what we're going for, we might not be able to get there. Me and Diop, we're very like-minded people, and it's like we're just like brothers. Really, at this point, everyone I've ever really worked with has become like family to me, which is cool. And that's really like the only way I can do it, is if like we're like vibing that well to where I feel like we can like talk about, life and other stuff. Like I'll make music with people who are like acquaintances and stuff, but it just never really usually has that kind of spark as like when you working with people you really vibe with.
No, I can understand that as well. It's also do you ever have the feeling like I guess maybe I can explain it how from my perspective, and maybe it can translate, but there became a point in time where I felt like I could have worked with a whole lot of people all the time. People were like reaching out, and I had a very close-knit group of people that I would work with because it was easier to work with them, I think, more than anything. But as that grew, my kind of desire to work with people outside of my circle actually kind of got smaller.
Yeah, for sure.
So has it been similar for you? Or
yeah. So like I kind of toyed with the idea of like just selling beats on BeatStars.
Yeah.
I made an account and all that, but it's just like I feel like if I really want to do that, I need to be putting all my best stuff on there. But I find myself just like kind of like trying to find the beats that are like everyone's passed on already.
Right.
And then I'm throwing it up online expecting strangers to just come across it and be like wowed by it and purchase it, you know? So I actually just recently quit paying for BeatStars because I was like, I'm just wasting a bunch of money doing this. It's cool to have teammates and have a shared vision.
No, for sure.
And yeah, it's also like I've seen it just done so many times, you know, like a lot of my favorite musical groups happened from people coming up together, you know, like I think there's definitely something there to just, you know, keeping your circle tight and building together.
Yeah. Well, it makes the journey that much more enjoyable and mean more, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I brought up 𝐷𝗍𝗱 because you guys still work together and you guys have worked on a handful of projects together. I know this story, but I don't know if everybody else knows the story. Tell me about what happened with the Spike Lee thing and how you got that placement.
So Spike Lee had put out a just like video on social media asking for independent artists to submit music for his series he was working on, which is She's Gotta Have It. And me and 𝐷𝗍𝗱 were working on our project Flow Flexin' at the time. And we had dropped this as a single, maybe. I can't remember if we had released it or not yet, but 𝐷𝗍𝗱 submitted 𝗂𝐫𝐞𝐚, which was like one of the first songs we had done for that project. And one day I was at work and I was on a bathroom break and 𝐷𝗍𝗱 called me and he was like, "Hey bro, so," and like at this point I had even forgot. I think he had told me he submitted it, but I did like, "Oh, cool, you submitted a song to Spike Lee."
Low expectations, right?
Yeah. But he calls me and tells me like, "Hey, I think he had gotten an email. And I can't remember if he had talked to Spike on the phone or not at this point yet. But essentially, yeah, 𝐷𝗍𝗱 hit me up super hyped, and I was able to tell my family and stuff, but we had to keep it a secret. And it was like technically not for sure yet. Like it was like an up in the air thing for a while. But so yeah, he picked like 30 or so songs out of like 6,000 or something. So super lucky like to get that experience. But yeah, he had like all of us independent artists out to New York. Not all expenses paid, but
got the invite though.
Yeah, we got the invite to Brooklyn, and we went and had this, you know, real cool experience at this like listening party. We all just got to hear each other's music, and we were in the 40 Acres and a Mule production place, and yeah, I mean, just once in a lifetime type experience, like really crazy.
Did the did the whole situation, this whole process of being selected and then going to, to New York and all this stuff, did it open your eyes to anything, or did you get any different type of insight that maybe you didn't have before on, music industry, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I don't know if this was like necessarily new insight more than just like reinforcement, but I definitely got like super hype about it and was like, that's the most money I've ever made, honestly, in one lump sum, but also doing music. But at the same time, it was like, when you watch the show, you can barely hear the song. Granted, Fat Joe is in the scene. That's kind of cool. But yeah, you can like barely hear the song. So it's not even like you could like Shazam the song or anything like that. So end of the day, we got paid for it, but then we got the external recognition of, oh, we were on this show. But outside of that, it was like, all right, well, how do we take this? How do we capitalize off of this,
Momentum, and right?
We plotted and, tried to capitalize off of it as much as possible. But yeah, it ended up being more work to get like kind of what we wanted out of it than just, oh, it happened and now we're going to get a bunch of publicity and stuff. Like we did get some opportunities from it for sure. And like the Indie Star covered us and had us, we performed like a couple songs on their Facebook page, and Kyle Long interviewed us on NPR. So yeah, we definitely got some cool exposure out of that, but it reinforced just how hard you have to work. Cause one opportunity doesn't necessarily always lead to the next one. It means you're doing the right thing and you're in the right ballpark, but that, for it to mean more opportunities, you definitely got to keep putting in that work and connecting dots.
Yeah. That's the one thing that was one of my, not obviously your situation, but
because like that wasn't through normal channels, that was like not every song gets put on a show because the director listens to 6,000 submissions, and picks people who have 100 plays on their SoundCloud, a lot of times you got to put more work in than that.
Yeah. Well, most times, right? Yeah. There's always exceptions to the rule, but like, I remember, we had something similar with Hinks Jones back in 2009 or 2010. Like we submitted to play at A3C, and out of 760 people, we were one of 4 people that were chosen to play, we were the first people I think that ever played at A3C from Indiana, stuff like that. And it was kind of big for us at the time.
Yeah.
But it was just one thing that we got the opportunity to build upon, you know what I mean? And I've had a handful of those types of situations that at this point now, when those great opportunities come, what I think of in the back of my mind, which you probably do as well, is like, all right, cool. How can I capitalize off this momentum to spiral it into something bigger? And I share that with a lot of people, artists that are maybe up and coming, like the people that get, I feel like part of the dream of being a musician is like starting out and all of a sudden people like find you and then, you want it to be big and all this stuff, but that happens, the shot in the dark, like some of these people that get found and then blow up huge, that's just so, that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen the way that I think people like envision that it happens. It does, but it's just so rare.
Part of me definitely thought, oh, this is going to be it, It definitely showed me where I want to kind of shoot for a little more. Like we were talking about scoring, like that wasn't scoring, but syncs.
It's part of it.
Placement.
Yeah. Syncs and placements. And I think you have a unique sound to where you could probably do quite a bit of that if you really focused.
It's just, it's getting onto that other side of my brain and finishing and exporting and contacting people and
it's everything that's not creative.
The stuff I'm not trying to do.
Which I know I've talked to you about it, which is I still think it's a big deal that you guys did that. I think that's great.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And it was for a great song too. I think it wasn't the scene in like a strip club or something. Like, didn't even make sense. But
Fat Joe's like yelling at all his strippers.
But it's still dope. Like it's still dope.
And it's like the song is playing in the club, which is hilarious because they would never play _𝗀𝗋 in a club like that. But
they'd play low key in the club. It's funny for you to maybe take advantage of some of these. Take advantage of your own skill set, right? Because you're a very talented music producer. You have a great ear. You can be completely original if you want. You don't have a crutch of having to use samples, which I say that being a sample producer, right? I'm not like clowning people to sample. Mm-hmm. It just means that you have the ability to make something from scratch and make all the money off of it because you own all the music. What do you think that you specifically are missing to be able to turn that corner to go to start doing those things that I think that you want to do, but maybe you don't want to do?
Yeah. At this point, I feel like money. I find myself always caught up in trying to, pay the bills and then have enough time to stay sane and still make stuff to where I end up kind of putting stuff to the side where I shouldn't be. But that's definitely something I'm working on just in general in my life right now is like prioritizing stuff that I don't want to do. Because I recently, like the pandemic pretty much shook me out of my 9-to-5 job. So now I'm like doing Uber Eats deliveries and stuff. So I have no like time structure.
Right.
Like I'm only accountable to myself, which is amazing. And, but it's definitely like a new challenge. But, at this point, I feel like I definitely see the way. But yeah, maybe just more time, more money. I think, being able to get out a little more, I would like to start popping out to some different cities and just if COVID actually backs off a little bit here soon,
right?
Just kind of do like what I did here in this city, just like meet people and just build with people and but I think I'm at a place where like the stuff I'm making with the people I'm making stuff with, like I'm hearing new music come out like from top names and I'm like, I'm not hearing it as like any gap anymore. Like they're my competitors to me now. And I feel really good about that. So I feel like at this point it's just just shooting more shots. Just,
right.
You're only gonna, make the shots you take. So
for sure. Have you
I'm starting to, I've always kind of been a quality over quantity person, but I'm starting to shift more towards quantity over quality because everyone's attention spans are so short these days that I feel like you just kind of gotta always be putting stuff out. That's kind of where I've been trying to go to. And so I've been releasing one single every month this year. And I'm hoping to do that for every month of the year. And I've got several projects that I'm going to be dropping this year as well. So
are you approaching releasing music any differently now than maybe you have in the past?
I'm trying to, for sure. Especially, well, generally, like at least the most recent stuff that I've done, other people are involved. So I get the benefit of being able to have other minds to bounce ideas off. Not that I don't have that for my own stuff, but we get to tag team the approach. Again, it's like, I feel like I know what I want to do with a release, but I just always find myself hung up on budgets. Like, you know, I want to be able to have like a music video maybe drop on the same day that the single drops, or like just different stuff like that. And it's always like, I just don't like, and it really goes down to that quantity. That's where, you know, you don't have $3,000 for each song that you put out. Right. So you got to decide where your money's going to go.
Yeah.
So honestly, at this point, it's still kind of just trying different stuff out. And I am kind of seeing the just releasing singles kind of work in terms of building up a little bit of a base. But yeah, I think it's each project I release this year will probably look a little different in terms of how it's released and how it's marketed, right, and all that.
I think you have enough. The thing is, you spoke on a couple things that I think most artists run into issues with. And even with some of my students, my advanced students, like I'm working on releasing a project, putting a project together with one of my younger producers. He's like just turned 16. It's got a really dope project that we're finalizing that he went through and doing. And so we're spending time like learning how to release and why people release things in specific ways, but it changes throughout time too. Right. Mm-hmm. And there's no one approach that will work for one person that will work for another person, depending on the time period and what's going on and everything. But the one consistent, or the two consistents, is time that independent artists spend on the business aspect of things as opposed to the creative side, and also money, like you just said. Mm-hmm. And I think what we'd fail on a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this in the past and still even to this day, because it's literally on my board over here to promote my new project that I put out last month that I didn't even like tell anybody about, really. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it's being intentional about putting 3 or 4 more times the effort into promoting and pushing something that you do than you do create it. And I think we fall into and shouts to TR who's in the chat too, because he's always a more. He says scale is the differentiator. And I agree for the most part. But as we put out more and more music, we have to be very, very conscious to understand and make sure that the music that we put out isn't running into the same walls every time. Otherwise, then we're wasting our material. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And have you ever thought about, so I feel like the biggest thing is to find a way to get it seems easy to just say it, but it's to get it to more people. But mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about, or have you ever had like a manager, somebody to take care of the business dealings for like a percentage of stuff that made and to manage? Have you ever thought about it? And are you actually even interested in maybe even going down that route?
I definitely would be interested in it, and I have thought about it. I've never met a person to where I'm like, I want you to be my manager, you know? I feel like this ecosystem we're in doesn't have a lot of those types of people, or not that we don't have those types of people, but a lot of the times those types of people aren't looking for people like me.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I honestly feel like it would, I don't know. It would just have to be the right person. But yeah, just basically I would like to have a manager, but I've never met that person. But yeah, having someone be able to do the things that I feel like I, run up on against the wall that would be nice.
The Achilles for a lot of independent artists is just the time management with the creation is never the problem. The creation is never the problem. It's never putting out really dope material.
Yeah. If I had a manager, I think like the main thing I would want from them would be to like sit down with them maybe like once a week and have them listen to all the beats I made that week, you know, and then be like, all right, I want you to do this with this one and send it to this person and do this to this one, or even just send it all to me, you know, like, but then they see where I'm going and they know the landscape. You know, I would like a manager that's not learning how to be a manager, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
well,
I don't want my manager to really come up with me. Like, sorry, anyone who had that dream.
No, and at the same time, like you want your I think management and you want somebody that has access to things that you don't.
Exactly.
You know, so you know, if you can give your beats to somebody and then they can shop them in a studio in LA or Atlanta or something, or to certain people, I think that's probably that would be beneficial. It's not somebody that has to already create those relationships. So but do you do a lot of your own mixing and mastering anymore? Because I know you work a lot with Willis, and I know he does a lot of that stuff. Do you go through him now, or do you still pretty much do all this stuff yourself?
So like, as far as like vocal mixing and stuff, that's like all Willis. I'll like mess around every once in a while when I'm recording someone, but whenever I send him the vocals, I always just take whatever I did off. I think I might start getting back into it. It was honestly when I got Ableton. I think I was just because I used to record and I had like my little tricks down in Acid, and then I had to relearn how to do everything. So and then that was also around the time that I met Willis, and all his stuff just sounded really good.
Yeah.
So, and that's also when I started, you know, just seeing the real benefits of like delegating things to people that you don't want to do. Like, so I've always liked just making the beats part way more than sitting down and pressing record over and over. Yeah. But I actually still do a lot of recording, but the mixing of the vocals, which I can also sometimes have fun doing, I just realized it wasn't the thing that I felt like I was really good at, or that I ever really wanted to do. Yeah. But I still try and keep my, you know, tools sharp in that category, but
yeah. No, it's great to have people on your team that can do that. So I think it's great you guys have Willis. That he seems like I don't know if he enjoys doing it, but he's good at it.
He actually, I think he says he likes mixing more than he does producing.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's dope. Like I'm more on the line with you. Like I'll do it, but like I would much rather send it to 𝗏𝐿_BROWN to master it, or you know, like send it to somebody that I know that I just want to make it.
I will say it is like, it is still kind of like, because I know like what I want. Like,
yeah.
It is still kind of tricky because
you don't want to stray too far.
And I'll like, all right.
But yeah, I know what you mean though. Like it's. I think that's been the hardest thing for me, like giving up, because I can mix enough, right? And so like one of those things, like I don't want them to make me sound weird, or I don't want them to change the entirety of it. But what are you working on now? Like what's your sound? What as far as, are you working on something instrumental based, or are you working on? I'm sure you're working on a little bit of everything, but kind of explain to me where you're at.
I'm actually kind of not allowing myself to do a lot of like beat making, so I'm in kind of post-production mode for a few projects. But I do have an instrumental project that I pretty much have everything for. I just kind of need to tie it up and just get it all together and mastered and make it flow right. That'll come out hopefully this summer. And then I have a project with New Wave Collective, Fresco and Don Chambers.
Nice.
And that is in post-production mode, so it's all recorded. It's on me to like, I'm kind of doing some different things to the beats and stuff. So, and actually we're still waiting on a couple features on that project. And that I'm like really, that might be the one I'm most excited about. I'm a fan of them. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's just a really fun project, like something a little out of the ordinary for me. And then 𝗀𝗏𝗃 has a project coming out. He's changed the name of it several times, so I don't know what it's called, but me and him co-produced that. So like 2 of the beats on there are mine, and then several of the beats are his that I kind of tweaked and did a few different things with, and then a couple of the beats like we like kind of more so collabed on.
Word.
It's been fun working with 𝗀𝗏𝗃 as he's learning how to produce, and like it's actually helped me become a better producer for sure. But me and 𝗀𝗏𝗃 are also working on a project with �AA that me and 𝗀𝗏𝗃 are co-producing, and �AA and 𝗀𝗏𝗃 are rapping on. So
nice.
Yeah, got like 4-ish, like pretty much almost done projects on the horizon that are all kind of fighting for my attention at the moment, as well as getting ready for an art show that I got in July.
What do you hope to accomplish from this, let's just call it summer of music? What would you like to see in fall, or what type of personal growth or any type of growth? What do you think would make it? I mean, obviously creating art is always great, right? But what would you like to see?
At this point, since I do want this to be my career, I think the goal is just converting fans at this point. Just trying to build a fan base, because I definitely do have fans at this point, which is kind of cool. Like, you know, at my old job where I was a little more like publicly visible, people would come in and like know that I was Mandog and I didn't know who they were, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so that's cool. And I know that, you know, once you have a fan base, instead of looking for the money, if you're looking for the fans, the money will come if you have real fans that are willing to support you. So, you know, just trying to go for that maybe 1,000 real fan mark, you know?
Right.
Like, so I'm excited because I do have a diverse, you know, a wide range of music that I will have coming out that I can kind of tap different audiences and hopefully expand. So,
yeah. What do you think that Indianapolis needs that would help the artists here more?
Artist-controlled spaces, venues, public transportation, more opportunities for people to bump into each other, you know, more like we have a scene, but it tends to still kind of be cliquey and bubbly, like everyone's in their own bubbles, and you know, you've got this one scene that everyone thinks that's the only people in the city doing what they're doing, and then you have over here this like a different group of people doing the same exact thing that these people over here are doing. So just I think more connections and open-mindedness and maybe willingness to back what someone else is doing instead of starting like your own version of it, you know?
Yeah.
Or more people, you know, with a passion for music, but maybe they realize they maybe don't have the knack for making music, but they've got a skill set in, you know, administrative tasks and stuff. Like more people are reaching out to artists they like, and like maybe, you know, I said I didn't want a new manager, but maybe people, you know, being willing to try out that role of like doing something in the music industry that isn't making music, you know, more roles being played in the ecosystem that we need.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And I think that's throughout the years, I think that's probably why I've taken on so many different roles that aren't music related, is because I just see the fact that we just need it. Yeah. There's just such a huge need for it. And, you know, I could very easily just continue to put out music. Shit, I put out 150 beats in the last, you know, it's like, and, but again, part of the reason I did it was less for me and more so because I felt like I was filling a void of a necessity of music for live streamers. You know, that's typically, I mean, it's the only reason why Bringing Down the Band exists, is because I was like, I feel like we need something like this. Yeah. And, you know, podcast.
And it's honestly why I've like kind of always, I don't know if I ever will execute this to the fullest, but like having a record label has always been something I've wanted to do, kind of in the back of my head. Like if I had the right people around me again, like to do the types of things that running a record label would take, I would want to be the person, like the creative mind behind the label. But that's something I feel like our hip hop community like has like needs, is like some type of like entity that provides some type of quality control and, you know, capital and just, but so I see that void, and part of me feels like I could help fill that void, but realistically, I don't know if I'll ever get there. But
well, I think maybe
being a producer in a way, you kind of end up having a record label of sorts.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I mean, because I think to your own point earlier about, you know, joining in with other people that have already building something. Like, all right, so I started 𝐂𝐫𝐞 Records for that same similar reason, right? Because I was like, all right, I felt like we needed, what do artists need, right? They want to be able to make music, and they want to put it out, and they want to be able to focus on the music. So I started 𝐂𝐫𝐞 because I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to give an artist, I'll be completely transparent. I'll give artists straight up, it's a 85 to 15 split. Artists get 85% from everything. 10% goes straight to the distributor. They just take 10%. 5% goes to the label for accounting purposes and just managing stuff. And then what I wanted to do, and what I started doing before I just needed more people around me, was I have the resources that artists need. I have people that can make videos. I have people that can do artwork. I have people that can handle contracts. I have people that can do all these other things. You fill those slots in with different people. And then depending on the artist, if the artist wants music videos done, then we take a percentage of that, give it to the creative that can actually make music videos for them. And then when the project sells, the percentage comes back, and maybe 65 goes to the artist, and then 10% goes to whoever's shooting the videos or whatever, right? And that's what I did with Red August early on. So he came on board and he did that for me. And Bangers by One, we put a project out. That's how we structured it. And a handful of other ones. It just got to the point, though, to what you're saying, just a little foreshadowing. I got to the point where I just couldn't do everything by myself. You know what I mean? It's like I needed like 5 more people around me to like realistically do it at a high level, because I've always wanted to run a record label. And I feel like having like, and not just a record label though, like artist development too. You know what I mean? Like the development aspect of it. But if you ever if you're ever interested in that path, and I think we've actually talked about this before, but I think we have. I'm always open for that conversation if you're ever interested. But
I was gonna say I had interned with Joyful Noise Recordings.
I remember that
out of Fountain Square. So, you know, I got firsthand experience in a record label, and you know they kill it. Like they're moving records all around the world, and it's just a lot of work. So
it's so much work, man. So much
when I feel like when my passion lies in creating, I need to like just, you know, horse blinders on for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think I don't know, man. Like the older that I get specifically, I'm looking for more ways that I just fit in. You know what I mean? Like rather than try to force myself. Like, I'm always going to be creative. I'm always going to do it. I'm always going to make music. I'm always going to do stuff. But there, to your point, like earlier, like if life takes me down another path and I'm more beneficial there than sitting and putting out a beat tape of 10 tracks, I'll probably end up doing it, just because it's what it is. But
that artist development thing though is definitely one of the like most rewarding feelings I feel like about being a producer.
Yeah.
That I've felt is just, kind of helping someone achieve their vision.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Get better at it.
Yeah. And it takes a certain type of person to be able to, I'm sure you've worked with people that don't want guidance, and then some people that are like, yeah, cool, I'll try some stuff out, Yeah. And it's always great when the people want to try some stuff out.
Yeah. So Alice and Victoria, we got that song Let Go. Me and her, we're like really similar people. We have the same birthday and we're very stubborn. We both have like where we see something going. So we actually like a few other people I would say I've run into roadblocks with like in a creative session, but her specifically, I remember on that song, we got to a point where we were just butting heads, and it ended up being good for the song. Like we, compromised and made it work. And I think that song's a hit, but those type of situations are still good, if you don't end up, fighting each other
and hating each other. Yeah, for sure. It can just be kind of a hassle sometime. Or just kind of a
Alice and Victoria.
Yeah, she's extremely talented. Big fan. How do you organize things? Like, are you a very organized person?
Yeah. I would organize things like
in your head.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what you need to do. You need to buy yourself a whiteboard, right?
No. If I was organized enough, I would be able to remember when I'm at the store that I need the whiteboard.
I'm going to buy a whiteboard and just drop it off to you one day. Like it's definitely
been a thing I wanted to get for like the past month. It was like, I need a whiteboard.
Shouts to my dude TR. I don't know if he's still in the chat, but I have his old whiteboard. But the one thing that saves me, because I similar to you, like I don't have a set schedule and I haven't for a long time. But what saves me is the fact that I am overly organized with everything. And so I put just as much time into like organizing what I'm going to do than not. And whenever I'm not on path, it just gets completely out of control and it's all over the place and I can't accomplish anything. Yeah. And so then it gives me anxiety, and I notice the anxiety. So then I just sit and don't do anything for like a day. And then it's like, it's reflated. But I think the one thing that I would suggest to you is to invest time somewhere. Like put it on your calendar, even if you probably don't have a calendar, I'm guessing either, right? So write up with a pen on your arm, right? Get a pen out, like physically write it down. Like I think if you can find a way to organize these thoughts outside of your head onto something that you can check, I think it's going to help you so much more.
No, I've seen glimpses of doing that.
Not to be like the older brother, like pointing at you.
No, I appreciate any constructive feedback or advice. But no, I did kind of last year. I had a big giant Post-it note on my wall that I would write things on, and that definitely helped. Just getting stuff out. I do have a kind of journal-y idea booky type thing that I'll kind of go in spurts. Even just kind of vomiting thoughts out into that it helps. But I do need something like right in front of my face.
I think and it could be an app too. It's just whatever it is, you just have to.
I don't think an app would work for me.
It doesn't really work for me for the most part. Because I have everything written in an app too, but I also have it here. So I have it in multiple places because as much as I am organized, I am extremely just want to do the things that are in my head all the time. Mm-hmm. So I have to have them in multiple places. But one thing that I'm constantly trying to do is create the habit of when I get up in the morning, sit down, take the time. Don't just rush into something I know I have to do, but look at it and be like, all right, cool. these are the things I need to do to accomplish this thing, right? And then not to get overwhelmed. And then I also have it on my phone right here in an app. Like I have 4 different notes of, one's a checklist, one's just what you just said, like a vomiting of, I guess it'd just be vomit of idea, and then I come back to it. And I find that I do find personally with the places that I'm all over the place, it does help me at least like not feel so overwhelmed all the time, because it's so easy, especially it's one thing to like be a creative and have all these creative ideas, but it's another thing to add on the fact that like you want to make this a career, right?
Yeah.
And so you're adding extra pressure on yourself because of that, which is just going to make it that much harder to be creative.
Like for that, like as an example, that coloring book, like when I was making it, like I had this vision of like how professional I wanted it to look, and like feel when you held it and all this. And it's the same with music. It's like I have this vision, like, I'm looking at all this stuff with like millions of dollars behind it, and I'm like, I want my stuff like that, but I realize it's not possible to do that. But at the same time, I feel like my taste and what I want to put out there, like I just want to maintain, some sort of professionalism. But yeah, it does end up just being ideas that bog me down from, because not only do you have the idea, then you just start thinking about how many steps that idea takes and to completion and what all it needs. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe I should wash the dishes first.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these are conversations that we're having right now is that I have with a lot of my friends, because most of my friends are idea people. And we could sit in a room and come up with the most great ideas back to back to back to back. But it's like at some point in time, you have to be like, all right, let's actually figure out how to do one of these.
This one idea we had. Yeah.
Like have all these ideas here that we can come and grab from. And I mean, I'm 38 next week, and it's a constant thing. Like, it's like, I'm better than I was 5 years ago, than I was 3 years, like when I was in my 20s, it was just shit. I didn't know how to organize any of my thoughts. And, even now I feel like I'm getting to be better at it. Only because I've had so much practice at it and failed at it for so long. It's just kind of like, all right, I just know that I have to do things a specific way and I have to be organized. Like, it drives Major 7th crazy because I'm extremely organized with everything. And almost the only other person I can really think of off top that's like an extra creative that's like really, really organized is my dude TR, because I feel like he's a scatterbrain dude too. And also Metronome. Like, Metronome is like extra. The amount of shit that he does is like, he does so much. Like, he's the one person I can say is probably busier than me. And I can't say that to like anybody, but it's the one thing. It's like the lists and the organizations is what Nick and I'll sit down and come up with ideas for Decademics for a meeting, and we'll just sit and just talk about ideas the entire time. But anyways,
that's kind of how me and Diop are. We're both kind of more so idea guys, but yeah, those executioners, they're, very valuable people.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. Excited I'm gonna go check out some of these other ones you have.
Yeah. Let me know. We've gotten better throughout the as it's grown. So, but again, this is Lonegeveity with bringingdowntheband.com, New Old Heads podcast, New Old Heads network. This has been Creative to Creative. I am a creative connoisseur. Catch me every first Friday here on Twitch. Actually, the next one will be on YouTube. We're moving our network to youtube.com/New Old Heads Network. The New Old Heads podcast is every Tuesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern, hip hop talk. And Major 7th now has a weekly sports show called The 7th Quarter, where he rambles on about LeBron James. You know how he goes. But yeah, check those out. And thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Peace.